Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 9 of our Business 217 Organizational Behavior class. And this is Mark Evans, your instructor for the class. I want to congratulate you. We only have week 9 and week 10 to go, and you will be one step closer to your educational goals. I hope that you've enjoyed the class so far and learned a lot about organizational behavior. We've talked about culture, organizational structure, leadership, change, and just all kind of subjects related to organizational behavior. Hope that you see that it's very, very applicable to your job, no matter where you work, and probably can look at it and say, okay, I see that person doing this, and I remember when we talked about that in class. So I hope you've learned some things about that, about how other people act in at work, or even how you perceive things at work as we look at motivations and things like that. This week we're going to take one more look at a video of Bob Davis and his leadership style. I think you'll find that interesting, a little more entertaining than just reading the textbook per se, and we'll be discussing what we found there. We'll also be talking a lot about change management this week. As leaders in the organization, whether you're a supervisor, a manager, a floor leader, whatever your term it may be, change management is something that needs to be understood. Change happens all the time. A new software program, a new way of doing your timesheet, a new way of putting stock up, a new way of manufacturing something, merging with other companies, quitting. I mean, things happen all the time that introduce change. And there's probably a good, I'd say 20 or 25 models of change out there. You remember we talked about leadership theory, and there were so many different theories. There are likewise a lot of theories out about change management, and it's important to know those things. Two of the more popular change management models that we'll be talking about is Levine's method of change, which talks about unfreezing, making a change, and then refreezing. Then there's Kotter's 8 steps to change. Both of those are very, very famous, very familiar to people who've already gone through school or who work in management. Those are probably, I guess, two of the most important ones we'll be talking about. We also have a lady named Kubler-Ross who come up with a change model. Her research was done primarily with people who were dying. How did they deal with the idea that they were going to die? And she came up with Kubler-Ross's curve, or grief curve, and it talks about how people deal with that sort of thing. Change management experts took her work and applied it to organizations and individuals facing major changes in organizations, and found that when a big change happens, not just dying, but buying a new house, buying a new car, getting a new job, having a divorce or a baby, or at work, major changes at work, individuals go through that same grief curve that we see with someone who's dying, which is kind of interesting. We can see there why people don't want to change, why they're resistant to change. It may be fear, it may be pride, it may be culture, but we see through that grief mechanism that people struggle with change. As leaders, that helps us. We can build systems we can build communication methods, we can work with people to help them deal with change. So we're going to be talking about all that sort of stuff again this week. I do want to remind you that it's week 9. According to the university's late policy, no late work can be accepted from this moment forward. So each time the due dates come up, we will lock things out, and you won't be able to turn anything in late. Anything that's due from the previous weeks is now locked out, and you won't be able to turn those things in. So hopefully you've been able to keep up and catch up. And it won't hurt you too bad that the late policy is what it is. We also have test 4 this week. I do remind you that that's 40% of your grade, and that you should do that. You can do that twice, and I take the highest the grade that you get. Next week we have our final exam. The final exam is a lot of the same questions that you've been dealing with for the past 9 weeks. So hopefully there's no surprises there. That exam, by the way, has been turned on. So if you want to start working on the final exam early, you are free to do so. Okay, keeping in mind that the final exam cannot be turned in late either, because we switch up and get you ready for your next term. So there's no way to do the exam late. So if you want to start that early and get it over with, by all means feel free to do that. You can also do the exam twice and I take the highest score. So with all that said, I look forward to working with you again this week as we discuss change management and leadership and what we can do both to support change as leaders and to deal with change as individuals. I'll see you in class.